Thank you, Verity. And thank you everyone so much for coming today. It's lovely to see on the thumbnail quite a few people I know and lots that I don't, but I hope to hear from some of you later as well if you have an interest in this subject. So today is the launch of Making Relational Care Work for Older People. This book builds on the themes and findings of one that I co-authored 2 years ago with James Woodward. There was considerable interest in its fresh look at the care of older people. There was a demand, not only in the older care sector, but more widely, to know more about how models of good practice based on relational care can work in community and residential settings. What resources they need to get it up and running, and what the real benefits are of relational care. So this new book is based on about 150 in-depth interviews, and throughout it gives primacy to the voices of older people, care staff and managers, and relatives. It also draws on inspirational writing by innovative thinkers in this field, not only researchers and commentators such as Atul Gawande, but also novelists like Lynn Hugo and Samantha Harvey, who've brought these issues to life. It builds on previous conclusions about the nature of relational care and demonstrates its outcomes. So by this term, I mean that the formation of close, long-term bonds and relationships in a care setting can give a great sense of support and security to the entire community. And most importantly, the two-way relationships based on mutual rather than unidirectional caregiving are vital to well-being. This is what the book is all about. Firstly, how society is moving from the organisation-centred care of the past through a revision into person-centred care, and now to the revolution of relationship-centred care. Secondly, how this transformational change can be nurtured in practical, realistic ways. And thirdly, the societal change that's required to support more enlightened care arrangements. The implications of these observations are profound, because once older people are seen in the context of relationships rather than as needy recipients, ageism is challenged. Older people become more valued and respected, are enabled to contribute to the community. One of the saddest things that I've heard recently is that seniors often say they feel little sense of self-worth, and this has undoubtedly been exacerbated by the advent of COVID-19 and all the restrictions that it's putting in place. Similarly, in a setting of relational care, those who are in the role of carers also become more visible, recognised for their contribution, and can no longer be dismissed as unskilled or seen as commodities to be moved around. Equally, there are implications for the whole of society and for providers of care. We need to take a transformative approach to all the norms of caregiving. When we view ideas that are currently accepted as representing best practice through the lens of relational care, they really do undergo a paradigm shift. Firstly, the notion of independence has to be re-examined. Independence is supposed to be a blessing, and certainly giving choice, respecting individuality, is an essential part of good care delivery. While there must be freedom to express and be oneself, independence can easily become another word for loneliness. At its worst, it drives the practice of encouraging the older person to linger on in a house no longer suited to their needs, becoming increasingly too frail to deal with a move, relying on brief care sessions. Human beings are defined by interdependence, not by independence. Gradually, the capability to do everything for oneself fades, and then we have to redefine accepted wisdom and offer the freedom to be rather than to do. People have to know they're valued for who they are and be enabled to contribute in ways that are still possible for them. And we'll see shortly how this can happen in practice. Secondly, the concept of security needs unpacking. There's a tendency to equate security with safety, but the models of good practice I've visited suggest this isn't helpful. Older people rate security very highly as being essential to their lives, and it's vital to the formation of relationships. But by security, what people often mean isn't only being in a place where they've got the assurance of help at hand and protection from intruders. What they're really talking about is the feeling of knowing others, being known and accepted for themselves, being held in a net of love similar to that provided by a good family. An overemphasis on safety can prevent this type of security from developing because it overly limits the opportunities for contribution and self-articulation. One residential home I visited, the manager told me this story. One of the residents liked to sweep the floor after lunch. A young care worker said to the manager, "Oh, is this right? Is Mrs. Brown really supposed to be doing this? Surely there are issues about safety." To which the manager replied, "Young lady, Mrs. Brown was brushing floors before you were born or thought of," which I think sort of says it all, really. And thirdly, acknowledging the importance of relational care has profound implications for policy and funding, and these will be addressed later. So turning now to what relational care means in everyday practice. The enabling conditions include creating opportunities for as much autonomy as possible for older people and for carers. And April Dobson's going to talk about innovation in this respect. The right physical environment has a serious effect on relationships, which Richard Vere will discuss with some real-life examples. The results of isolating older people from mainstream society, even when it occurs as a result of good intentions, not only deprives them of self-worth with impacts on physical and mental health, but also deprives the younger generations of all the benefits of elder experience and wisdom. Stephen Burke's going to explain how this need not happen and how apparent generational divides can be addressed. Recent innovations in the growing area of age tech can support mutual understanding, or conversely, they can attempt to replace human interaction. Lorraine Morley is an expert in this field and will consider these issues. Yes, implementing worthwhile change does cost money, but it need not necessarily be a great deal. And the thing is, they save money further down the line because these changes preserve mental and physical health. This fact impacts on policy. So finally, on behalf of Baroness Sally Greengross, Nick Kelly is going to look at the wider implications and how not only society, but also policymakers might embrace a new philosophy of care. And I'd like to end as I started, with thanks. There are so many people without whom this book just wouldn't have happened. Its foundations, built on the experiences of older people and carers, lie in the interviews and discussions that have been facilitated by the truly forward-thinking organisations who've given me their time, and not just their time, but their hospitality, for which I'm so grateful. In alphabetical order, because it's the only fair way to do it, the Abbey Fields Society, Anchor Hanover, Cambridgeshire Neighbourhood Teams, Glenfields, Hallmark Care Homes, who've been so generous in also helping with the transcriptions carefully done by Leslie Turney, Milford Care Homes, Tante Louise, Wellbeing Teams, Wren Hall, and United for All Ages. They've all played a key role. Joanne Parker's hard work has made this launch event possible. Supporters of my work like Baroness Greengrass and the Routledge team and many others, including my husband, have not only given so much encouragement, but also shown confidence in what I think this book offers. I hope you're going to find it of value in your own work and in your future planning. Thank you.